to order at 9:01 a.m.
We just have a forum.
Yeah, we have more than we need for quorum, I think. One more. Only need 5.
Yeah, we have one more.
And I think this is everyone who responded, letting me know that they would be here. So we have a pretty light agenda today. We don't have minutes to review from the last meeting because we're a little pressed on time. We will get those at the next meeting. What's the standard way that we should act? Should we actually do roll call in the sense of like going through people and asking they're here, or should we
Yeah,
just,
that would be great. Why don't you just start and say Joe,
Say your name.
present.
Joe Coleman here.
Ellie Ferrari here.
Susan Gold here.
Fred Leach here?
Jacqueline Davis here.
Liz Babb here. Howard, go ahead.
Howard Young, Public Works Director, Town of Petula Valley.
And
Okay.
Judith Haskell here as representing the town council.
Okay.
And Teresa Coleman's representing Conservation Committee.
Thank you.
We have 5, it looks like we have 5 people on the Zoom. Howard, can you move that to where we can see who all is on?
I don't think I could do that on the main screen, but I
Okay.
can read them out to you.
Okay.
Barb Eckstein is logged on, and Christy Corey, and there's a 650-678 number.
Great. Okay. So we are going to go to oral communications for items not on the agenda. Since Christy, you are on the call. Did you want to speak? I can also read from the email you sent.
Yes,
Yes,
thank,
Christy,
hi.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm real concerned that the Hawthorns did not get on your agenda with the October 26th. Well, first of all, if the rest of the committee doesn't know, it's 79 acres. And they're planning on a 1.2 mile trail. They're also adjusting the trail in the front, possibly, of the fence. So I have many concerns, including trails, parking, and the adjustment of the trail along the fence of Hawthorns right across from Roberts. So any overflow might go on to Alpine roads, such as Windy Hill is happening on Portola Road. And then Willowbrook is dealing with lots of cars along Willowbrook, making it dangerous for some to come out, especially during COVID, but it's continued. So I wanted to share with you, Hawthorne, Windy Hill is number 3 of their 26 parks. So, sorry, I'm getting interrupted here. So that means of usage. So, okay, so my concern is I've been to 10 hours of meetings approximately, so I've learned a lot. This meeting on October 26th is 6 to 9 p.m. and it's on trails and parking. So I'm not sure if they're going to vote on trails and parking, but 3 days before we will see drawings possibly, but 3 days before gives us no time to comment if there would be a vote that day. So I'm requesting that your committee organize another committee meeting to discuss Hawthorns, special committee meeting, because we don't, if you can't discuss it tonight, of which I would like to see Karen Vatra, who's a voting member, and Helen Quinn also be a part of your meeting so they can make comment as well. Without Hawthorns on your committee meeting, they cannot comment or they're asked not to comment. So this allows for communication. I also would encourage you to write a letter to Hawthorns requesting a town hall meeting on the Hawthorns so we can get all opinions and all ideas out from the residents. So there is a committee of 5 or 7 on different committees but that doesn't get the residents involved. So such as myself that has some opinions. So I think maybe the 79 acres could be better utilized, meaning more thoroughly utilized. I know when I go out for a hike, I'd like to go 3 miles. 1.2, I'd have to go 3 times around. So I think we could possibly ask for more, another trail. The trail in the front, which concerns me if you bring it inside the gate. See, I'd like you all to see the maps on this and to see, have you all have a packet on this. Because there's a 232-page document, and then there's another 44-page document, another 10-page document, another 6-page document. So you should have them all. And they're proposing putting parking possibly on Alpine Road to the right and left of the driveway, with the entrance to the left of the driveway down lower where the kids pick up speed and bikers pick up speed to go down. So I've seen many accidents at Los Trancos and Alpine Road and Alpine Swim and Tennis and Alpine Road. I live right outside of it. I hear them. I run down when it happens. Believe me, it's bikers, it's cars, it's it's pretty dangerous area once they get their speed going, and there's blind turns as well. So if there were to be 20 on the right and 20 on the left of the part of the driveway, the parking engineer said they probably have to remove the oaks for safety. So now we're seeing 40 parking places on our scenic corridor, which is 75 feet in, which we should not. So I'm really concerned that there is a second area for parking where all the tours are, and I would propose that for the parking. So also at dusk, if the trail's brought in, at dusk, they close their gates. So our trails are not closed. And that concerns me for the Trails Committee. What is the solution there? What are our options if we bring the trail inside the gates? And then I would love to hear you discuss this more.
Yep.
So,
yeah, no, thank you. I know we've had Hawthorns on our agenda a few times in the past. I am one of the 7 members of the town ad hoc committee. And I do think it's worthy of us getting it on the agenda for our next meeting, which does occur before the 26th. I do want us to, I've got a workflow working group document that I believe Karen on the committee sent to me just to give us all kind of a little bit of understanding of the process here. There is and I'll pass it around, but there's basically the Public Access Working Group, the Planning and Natural Resources Committee of Mid-Penn, and the Board of Directors. All of them will be part of the process of engaging both with the town ad hoc committee as well as public input. And so there are
that's after they're already done with the drawings and voted on the drawings. So
right, but there's an opportunity for additional information and input at each phase, is my understanding. So I definitely take the point that having us come together as a committee to talk about it prior to the next meeting, I think is a great suggestion. If we can get a special meeting together, I think it's reasonable to try to do that. If we can't, we do have our meeting a week ahead.
No, a week just isn't gonna, there's so much things to think about and discuss here. A week is not enough time. And so maybe I'm just saying we're not starting from zero. We've participated and given feedback on trails already to Mid-Penn. So comment on the inside of the gate, how that would work when dusk and they close their gates. Can you comment on the solution there then?
I actually am not sure what the problem is, because Windy Hill has that today, the gates close. So I don't know that it's
safe rides to school, safe routes to school. The kids walk from Corte Madera all the way down to Alpine Swim and Tennis on one side of the road.
Yeah,
This
Jacqueline,
is
do you wanna comment?
Jacqueline Davis. So I was at the last Hawthorne's meeting, the one where we did the tour in person. And through the conversations that I've had with members on the POG and with MidPenn is that the thought is that they would take that existing, the Alpine Trail realignment. My understanding is the thought is that's going to come outside of the fence. So that's not going to, because of that exact reason. So that's not going to be closed dusk to dawn. That's going to be, and there's open discussion, which is a big topic and needs to be figured out, but it was sort of saying who then in the long run owns that trail, right? So is that still really under MidPenn, or does that end up getting deeded to the town for the town to manage? So those are those big questions that the town obviously needs to be very involved in. But
Yeah, I
that
think
made sense to me though, that would come, the fence would get pushed in and then Alpine Trail would be outside of that. So it doesn't have that closure of dusk to dawn.
that sounds better to me because I would hate to see that trail closed for the kids.
Yeah, no, I think that was very understood by MidPenn that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they didn't want to bring it in because then they take the risk of anything happening on the trail. They take all that risk. So
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, I'm just sharing, I guess, an opinion here, but it did seem that there was discussion and that it, in the long run, would make sense that becomes more under town ownership.
and the question of dogs and bikes is also still a question, and you know, picnic tables and benches for the elderly. Since it is 1.2, we will get a lot more elderly folks coming in that need benches. So I would like to see this committee go to bat for that. I have an 88-year-old mother-in-law that walks a trail without benches, and she is trying to find places to sit. So there is some talk of, you know, doing no picnic table. And I don't know why you wouldn't put a picnic table
Yeah.
on a 360 view. So
Christy, can I ask you to send to Fred suggestions for topics to cover in an agendized meeting? Because these topics are too important to omit, but today is not agendized. So for
Yeah.
Brown Act purposes, we can't have people with a fulsome discussion. So if you send every topic you want to see covered, I think Fred can use his
Yep.
judgment if
Yep.
that's okay.
So,
Thank you.
that'd be great. That'd be
I've
great.
got
if we do
one
a special meeting. It's
question
so
for you,
important.
Judith.
Yeah.
Thanks, Christy. Is the best thing for us to do to put together a special meeting ahead of just move in our next regularly scheduled meeting to be able to
It
cover
sounds,
this topic?
well, so is there a point that you can intervene in the next Hawthorne's meeting agenda? If so, if you actually want to present them with something to integrate into their meeting, and I haven't been following, so I don't know, then you need to have a special meeting ahead of that meeting
Sure.
and ahead of the time where they prepare their packet,
Yep.
which might be difficult.
Okay.
If the idea is for this committee to be prepared to discuss at the 26th meeting, their packet that they're going to put out there,
Mhm.
then my suggestion is you have your regular meeting, prep for what, you know, you want to cover and look for in the packet that comes out afterward. Because it sounds to me like it's your meeting and then the Hawthorne's meeting.
Yes.
And there's only 3 days where you have to look at that. So you might want to have a special meeting right in that 3-day period, which might be difficult, right? But if you want to be prepared to impact that meeting and get Trails
a-
Committee feedback, you might want a
It's a-
regular meeting and then a special meeting.
Just so we have
Yeah.
the dates right.
Yeah.
The 26th, Christy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
October
So it's
26th.
we have an 8-day window.
8-day, okay,
Between-
that's help.
between
That's
our
much
next.
better.
So just in terms of the mechanics here, should we form a subcommittee to work on this to present at our next meeting? Where we
You
can have,
can't, you can't
Or we
do that
can't-
because it's
not on
Brown
the
Act.
agenda.
You didn't agendize
Okay.
it. So, so my suggestion is you make available to the entire committee all the relevant materials in case they need them.
Mhm.
They can look at it and agendize the topic at your next meeting, so you get full input.
Great.
And then at that point, you might want a special meeting in that
8-day
whatever window you get from Hawthorne's packet being available to the meeting.
It's a 3-day window. It's not going to work, I don't think.
It's 8 days.
No, 3 days they
Packet.
come out
Oh,
with
their packet.
Their
Yeah,
packet.
I mean, well, it can work.
Yeah.
Why couldn't it work? You just have to see if the people are available.
Okay.
Do you know, sorry, but do you know when the committee of committees is meeting about?
No, it's not on the
Hawthorns?
agenda for today at 1 o'clock. That's disappointing too.
There's the committee of committees, which is separate from the town ad hoc committee on this. So the town ad hoc committee on the Hawthorns, I believe, is separate from the committee of committees.
I believe that's right.
I don't know, but I can follow up on that. I originally thought that the meeting that Christie's referencing this afternoon, that's committee of committees, was about this.
No, it's about
is not.
SB 330, and it's
Right.
very unfortunate. We have Sarah Wernickoff as our liaison for Hawthorns, and on Friday, she knew the meeting's coming forward, Trails and Committee of Committees, and there was no communication to get this on the agenda. So I'm just super
Yeah,
disappointed.
my suggestion is because it could be confusing.
Mhm.
Give all the information to everybody,
Yeah.
at least it's to the basics. And then everybody should just maybe get to Fred, their talking points or agenda questions that he should consider putting on the regular meeting discussion. And everybody can then be prepared for a possible special meeting in that 3-day window. It's unfortunate we can't have a perfect sequence and understand exactly, like avoid redundancy. But my suggestion is make all the information available, give everybody homework to be prepared for your next meeting, certainly. And for those who really want to dive into the packet that's the Hawthorns promulgates, then you'll at least be advanced enough to understand what issues to look for in their packet, and maybe you can convey that to the people who will be having a voice at that committee.
Yeah.
But you want to do that in a special committee if possible in that 3-day window, and it can't be on the first day. Like say it comes out on a Friday, so you
Right,
need
you have
time
to
to read a
yep.
pretty big packet. So I wouldn't depend on you being able to have the special meeting and be really informed, but you might want to at least consider having one. So people who do care, if you have a quorum for that meeting, can weigh in on the packet specifically. So general for your next meeting, and then maybe packet specific special meeting.
Yep.
That's my suggestion.
That makes sense. And I'll also just note that all of these meetings for the Hawthorns Public Access Working Group they're open to the public. And at least the document that I'm currently reading says that you can provide feedback to the POG at any of their meetings. So,
So,
You
well,
also can submit online.
yeah, so we have other options for individuals to also
Right.
share.
It will be meaningful if the Trails Committee as a group
Yes.
can develop a set of points that you care about. So in your next meeting, maybe that's something you can formulate.
Yep.
And then set a subcommittee at that point if you want, but you can't do that today, I don't think.
but Jacqueline can report because she was there and as a public member, correct? Because she was at the 4-hour meeting, so she can still say anything she wants in public comment. As Targ did for Planning Commission, he spoke as a public member. Is that correct, Judith? I'm not sure.
Well, she can make an oral comment if she wants, but if the purpose is to facilitate a fulsome discussion and understanding, usually public comments are limited in nature and kind of designed to give ideas for future in-depth discussions. So if she wants to, yes, she can, but it can't be a fulsome discussion, right? You have to,
She can
so it might be
report
more
that,
effective for her to write down like the things you really suggest that Fred have as talking points, but it's up to you. It's
Yeah, I mean, I can just chime in that I'm still need to get up to speed on all the Brown Act things because I was hoping today that we would form a subcommittee to have a meeting before next meeting. So if that's not possible, then yeah, I just didn't realize that. So that, because that kind of was my suggestion, is get a smaller group together that talks in more depth about. I mean, I'll just quickly say that, yeah, the main things I know they want to hear from us are kind of trail connections, right? So like from the ranch, from Sweet Springs, like over, like how does it connect in with our existing trails? And then I did it, fortunately, the Alpine, as I said, is very much part of the plan, the realignment of that and widening it and making that a safer, bigger trail, which is great. There are open questions over ownership of that in the long run. And then I think the last piece, which should involve obviously BPTS chiming in too, is yeah, the parking is a big question. How big? The bigger you make it, you invite, you know, more people, but at the same time, you keep them from parking on the road. The smaller you make, you know, so there's just lots of, and then where, you know, to Christy's point, thinking of flow. So that's a big, and then where within, do we want to be able to see it or do you want it deeper in? So there's lots of questions. And it is true that at this October 26th meeting is, yes, there's going to continue. It's not like it's going to be finalized, but absolutely that group is right now formulating their thoughts. So prior to then, we for sure do want to give our feedback.
Jacqueline, can I just ask one question? You went on the trail walk, right? So the trail that they have in there, is it up and down? Is it pretty level? Does
Yeah.
it climb?
Well, you couldn't completely, because of, you had to kind of walk. It wasn't the exact trail, just because obviously it's not formed yet, but we did see a lot of the areas.
So is it
would be,
undulating? or
yeah, I mean,
Is
right?
it
we live
suitable
in
for
a-
elderly people then that need benches?
I mean, it's standard Portola Valley that, yeah, it's really, if you're doing the full loop, yes, absolutely. There's kind of an you're sort of the climax as you get up to this overlook. It's beautiful. And you see Woody
Let's-
Hill
And I have
Let-
one other quick question is why do kids need to be on the trails before dawn and after dusk? I don't know.
Let's
I'm
let's.
just
I think we're getting too far into the territory of fulsome discussion. So I think as a follow up, I will send all the information that I have out to the committee, and then we'll ask you all to suggest items. And Christy and anyone else in the public, welcome to send me. My email is my first name and last name @gmail.com. Won't get that. And then we will get the items on for our next meeting. And I will also see if there's any potential for us to move the next regular meeting a bit earlier to give us a little more time.
Even if we bumped it by
a
earlier by
week.
1 week.
Yeah.
it could be.
So all the information that you have, is that all the information?
No,
The 200,
I-
like who's in charge
I-
of getting us, because we need a lot of time to kind of
I-
parse all of this.
I will send all the information I have, and then we'll try to get all the other information that is out there
Thank you.
about this as well.
And all the notes that I emailed you, can that be
I think so.
shared?
I'll ask
Or-
Alex.
Because I just know I can't email like the whole group, so I just sent it to.
Can this committee ask for the contact of the voting members, 13 of them? Because I only have contacts of the 2 Portola Valley and they don't list them on the website. And if we want to call some of the voting members to have discussions, we have no way to contact them. And this is really important to our town. So I would like to see under the picture and description of the person voting, also their email and their phone number. That makes a better public access so we can talk to the voting members. I would like to see that part of the letter. Thank you.
We certainly can ask, can't guarantee the outcome of that. Okay, any other public comments?
Our phone number is 650-678.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Oh, great. This is Caroline Bertongen. So I'm speaking on behalf, well, not on behalf, but I'm a member of PPDS and also as a resident. So I really concur and I thank Christy for bringing this up. I thought this was also on the agenda. I will not repeat, and I think I would like to thank the Town Council Liaison, Haskell, for explaining to us. We need a little more clarity on the different committees, because we just found out last Wednesday night that there had been already an ad hoc committee or working committee established, and nobody knows about it, it seems like. For instance, Pat Bainan, who's also a member of PPDS, apparently she's on it, but I have not gotten confirmation. And at our last PPTS meeting, beginning of September, we talked about Mid-Penn and we talked about Hawthorne, and there was a representative and she did not say anything about it. So I think she might not even know she's on that working group. So I was disappointed not to see on the agenda the crosswalks, which is part of the safe route to school. We need the crosswalks to connect our trails with the roads, Alpine Road and Portola Road. It was my understanding from the last two meetings that the two chairs, you and Ed Holland, would get together and talk this over so that we could establish an agenda and talking about it. Since the last two meetings, there's other issues that have come up again. These are not new issues, but these are issues that have not been resolved, and that is the parking at baseball field. I don't know if you know, but so to solve some of the issues with the parking at Alpine Inn, they have made an agreement and they are renting the parking where the baseball is. Now residents have come out and said, well, they have concerns about the trail going from that parking lot all the way to Alpine Inn. Concerns about garbage, broken fences. And then we have the other issue is the parking at Alpine Inn, trying to determine what is for a park and rec, what belongs to the Rosati's, and that trail too, there's a lot of damage. So if we can put this.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
No, tell me what I should do. I mean, should I send you an email and bring this all up? Some of it we've talked with your subcommittee. Jacqueline Davis knows about the crosswalk. So.
So I think there's several points here that we can address, and then always an email is certainly welcome in terms of the points that you would like to see us agendize. I'm not sure whether all of the items that you referenced are under the purview of this committee, but we can certainly help route items that are not. I confirmed this morning from Ed Holland, who's the chair of BPTNS, support for the joint meeting. There was a delay in getting that confirmation, but we have it today, so we will get that scheduled as well. For just to remind everyone, this is the joint meeting with BPTNS, which is bikes, parking, or pedestrian. What's the P stand for? Pedestrians, traffic, safety.
Yep, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
When is it? When is that meeting?
We have not scheduled it yet, but I got confirmation from Ed. We needed to have both committees discuss it and confirm support for it. Ed confirmed support for it in an email to me this morning. So we will get that. That is a meeting on the future of the Alpine Trail, a public meeting to have a discussion about the future of the Alpine Trail, where I believe we obviously have not created the agenda yet, but the agenda probably should have things like safety school, the Hawthorns, the parking, all of these kinds of things. So we will be getting that together.
If I can may add, okay.
And then I'm not sure about the Alpine Inn parking lot rental situation. If there are issues in terms of trash or damage to the trail that goes behind the field there, I believe technically that's Alpine Trail. Encourage everyone to obviously always report that on PB Connect, and then email me or Howard if it's a significant problem that needs, something more than an individual item to be taken care of. Did you want to add something, Howard?
No, thank you.
I just
wanted
wanted to, okay.
We haven't had any formal entry on PB Connect or any inquiries concerning garbage on the trail between Ford Field and Alpine Inn. So we do monitor that area for garbage and we do maintain it, but we have not today received any comments on it.
think she's talking about Rosati's Field.
Yeah, she's talking about the field adjacent to Alpine.
Yeah, so I think she mentioned a couple of things that I am aware about. So there's a garbage issue that I heard, and then there's also a parking issue. So the parking issue is something that the town has been trying to resolve with Alpine Inn. For now, one of the solutions is when they're busy to allow employee parking at Ford Field. Alpine Inn has applied to an application, and the town has granted an application to authorize employee parking there. So they occupy about 38 spots when they're busy, but it can only be used when there's not an event at Ford Field. So and then also for the baseball players, there has to be enough parking for the baseball players also.
I think Howard, she commented, what I heard was that there is a trail connect that goes behind the soccer section there. That parking close to Rosati's Field is impacting the trail there. Is that what,
Yeah.
are you talking about Rosati?
How about this? I think it's the communication over the phone is actually difficult to do, to understand the specifics. So if we can get some of those in email, I think it would be probably more productive for us in making sure that we don't sort of fall into a discussion around parking or something where we're getting too deep.
So can I send this to the whole group or just to you or?
Yeah, just
Because-
send it to me.
yeah.
Send it to me.
Okay, great. And so one other thing is, we talked about it a while ago. It's the CUP for Woodside Priory. We want to make sure there's a Sosal trail. We want to make sure that's not going to be impacted. They're proposing some additional work. And so thank you, Liz. Yes, I'm talking about two trails, which I'm going to explain in my email. But yes,
Great.
there is the trail. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, do we have any other public comment?
Fred, I
And-
was wondering why discussion of the map is not on the agenda. When are comments
Um,
invited?
We are going to, I think we have something like 10 to 15 suggested changes that we are looking to make to get a new clean version for discussion before we bring it to the committee. I think we have too many pieces that are up in the air for, I think we're on version 26, something like that. And then we'll get that and we will agendize that.
And
as
you're
well.
welcome to email me any additional changes from what you have previously.
I'll be clear that I don't think we will not be posting the map without having a discussion here at the committee and inviting public comment on it. Okay.
No other
Nice.
hands raised.
Can I say
Okay.
one other thing?
Sure. Quickly, please.
It's different. How do we prepare for this winter? And I guess overflow on trails, and you're not roads, but off of Mid-Penn, rivers come off of Mid-Penn. How can we capture the water not to ruin trails and roads? That's my question. And can you keep that on the agenda, please?
I'm not sure whether there's a lot of discussion for us to have on that particular topic. I'll defer to Howard on what might need to be covered here. We actually have as our first item or second item, no, first item, excuse me, old business A is the work. So maybe we can go over that, and then Howard, you can offer some comments and whether we should have an agenda. We do have trail work as a standing agenda item, and we trust Howard and team to prioritize the most urgent work. If there is an opportunity to do some sort of collaboration with Mid-Penn, I think that we will take it, but we also got to make sure that we get things done that we absolutely need to get done. So Howard.
Thank you. And on that, if you could please submit the details onto PV Connect. I know it's a broad statement of, and MROSD's land is pretty big, but if there's a specific location that you're talking about, if you could email me or let PV Connect know, and we can address that. Thank you.
There's something, I think the woman who was talking about those trails and garbage, I think she's probably gone from the meeting, but I walk that every morning. I walk between Ford Field all the way to Alpine. Sometimes I walk behind the baseball diamond. I walk on the trail behind Rosati's field. I don't see any garbage. I mean, every once in a while, I actually walk with a little litter bag and I'll pick things up when I see things. But actually, you see more garbage on the fields themselves from people not throwing their cans and trash away in the trash cans. So I don't see that as a problem. I just walked there this morning.
And thank you, Susan. And we do have trash pickup every 2 weeks from a contractor we use that picks up garbage along the roadways. And so our crews also go to the fields and pick up garbage in the parking lot, in addition to our own trails crews. Thank you. Thank you. I will go over on old business review of trail work and the budget memo. So even though we fell behind because of some short staff on including these memos, I did go through the work at each meeting, I believe, verbally, but I will go through in June. We'll start in June. The trail work in June was 366 hours. Of course, that is our most busiest time of year. If you can tell from there, it's basically trimming of all trails, weeding of all the trails, as we do annually for fire purposes also by a contractor. And also, I just want to remind everyone that we did stop using pre and post emergent. Remember, we did stop spraying, so it equated to more mowing, and sometimes we have to go back to spots twice. So, are there any comments here on mowing? And once again, these are also we try to get done before fire season, also during June. So I think next year might be a little bit earlier. So once again, this is contracted out and overseen by Scott Weber, on our trails crew. And then on top of that, these are the main trails. And then Scott supplemented by going out himself to mow spot areas also. So is there any questions on the 366 hours in June, which is 14 hours by staff and 352 hours by contract?
I think the only question that I've had occasional conversations on is, are you maintaining a list of places that you're delaying for sort of wildflower preservation? I know that you, I think the question is, how are we maintaining from year to year that sort of institutional knowledge of which areas to let sit a while longer, like Toy on Trail and Coal Mine Ridge, and to preserve the wildflowers?
Yeah. So we've done that. We've basically scheduled it in a permanent schedule there is an order we do the trails, and we already know that for the wildflowers and for specifically comments received within the ranch that they want the wildflowers to bloom first. So we purposely do those last.
Yeah, I know that there were some comments on our PV forum about folks concerned that we weren't doing that. So anyone who happens to listen to this, maybe highlight those other areas if there are areas we need to add to that list. But we do have it. We are doing it. It's part of the process.
Yes. And our crews are very sensitive. They know that if we can identify a wildflower, we avoid it. But at some point, wildflowers haven't bloomed yet. It's very hard to tell between them and that's in the trail.
Move on to July.
Move on for July. By this time, the bulk of the work is done. There was no contractor work. Scott had performed 5 hours of work. A lot of it is just clearing fallen trees at this time. Any questions for July? Okay. I will move to August, where the staff did 42 hours of trail work that month, mostly Scott. A lot of it is just cutting brush and clearing fallen trees and getting a lot of the PV Connect items too. Any concerns there?
Okay.
Okay. And I do want to just touch bases with, before I get into the finance item, on this one. What we did is, we knew school started, so we concentrated on everything around the schools and all the school routes first. Then we also, got some fallen trees on Black Oak and Toyon trails. And then right now, going forward, it's gonna be a slower time in trails. We're gonna start brushing some of the fire gates. And then in around November, we're gonna start doing the annually to prepare for the storms, clearing of water barns. And drainage ditches on the trails too. So I know there was a comment about looking at drainage. We do it annually, before the storms and after the first biggest storm, looking at all the water bars and the drainage ditches also.
Howard, can I ask a question? Does the town replace water bars when they're rotten or eroded?
Yes.
Because I noticed that doesn't seem to happen. Whereas on Westridge, when I'm on those trails, they've got new water bars all over the place where the old ones have rotted out. So
I think we go by condition. I think Scott will look at the condition. If they're still functioning, sometimes the water bars will look eroded because sometimes water bars are installed 6 inches higher or 6 inches lower. I think if they're functioning and they can be cleaned out, we don't. If they're not functioning, then we'll reevaluate them. And we have changed water bars before.
I wonder where, because I'm on those trails in the ranch all the time. Anyway,
Yeah,
PV
probably
Connect.
not specifically the ranch, all over town. But if there are specific water bars, just let us know. If they're not functioning correctly, just the PV Connect, and we'll address them.
Howard, a quick question about PV Connect. Several times I've tried to send a comment and I get does not operate, doesn't work. Is that my phone or is there a town PV Connect issue at times?
Sometimes that might be signal.
Mhm. Okay.
If you're on a trail on a phone, especially because I find that too specifically in the Coal Mine Ridge area.
Well, can you comment on, is the PV Connect system functioning as expected?
It should be functioning. I mean, because we do get comments on them, but I can double check. And if there is an issue with it, you can also call the office and call our IT department or Carrie, our communications specialist, and ask if it's working or not. But in the comments what I've heard when that's an issue, it's typically the mobile phone access too.
Yeah, typically what I do, so I report things in Coal Mine Ridge a lot, but they don't always go through because of connectivity. So if I take a picture, that stores the location of the photo, and then I try to remember when I'm done, when I'm back home to file it. But that, my experience anyway.
And you can also, if that doesn't work, you can email me too, and I can put it in PV Connect.
As long as we're in the meeting and I don't have to use PV Connect, I have a very specific question. Oh, is it okay?
I can't
Microphone,
hear.
I'm so sorry, I forgot. I have a specific question about a trail issue I saw this very morning. The little area of the Golden Oak Trail that comes off of Alpine Road, as you're walking up that trail toward Minoka, there are some steps, and I've been noticing that they're getting more and more eroded. It's getting harder and harder to walk up those steps. I was almost going to report it. And then this morning, I get there and I see that someone has thrown or placed a whole bunch of gray sand there. I even took a picture of it to show you. And I'm wondering if that was a town repair or if some interested citizen went ahead and did that, because it just didn't seem like a real fix.
I'll look into that if you can send me some pictures, but we don't use gray sand.
Okay, I have it right here. I'll send you to.
Yeah, we use class 2 base rock. We use the authorized material.
It almost looked like something I might have done had I, had I the sand in my house, right?
You were the one who's gonna pick up the poop, right? So you're
Exactly.
doing sanding stuff?
But only from Dwight Crowder Trail.
That's right. Okay.
Thank you. We'll, if you can send me the pictures, we'll look into that. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Howard. You want to talk about the budget?
Yes, we'll go on the budget items. So I just wanted to point out, so there are several that haven't been due to staffing and resources, but they have 3 months into here now. And I did want to let you know that there is, I need to clarify it. And there's some corrections that need to be made. So in June, you'll see the 19,000, but that is invoices paid to then. It doesn't account for work that happened in June and the invoices came in August. So our fiscal year closes June 30th. So in this instance here,
Howard, where in the packet is the June? Because I'm not seeing June.
it's it's on the 9th.
Oh, I see it. I see it. Yeah. Okay. You got to look all the way to the right. Thank you. Sorry.
So there's the 19,000, but once again, that's just invoices that came in and that were paid in June. But for the work that happened in June, that was paid in August, and we close a fiscal year. So I did talk to Cindy Rodas at the finance department, and what happens is we need to add the 19 and the 17 together to get the total of that fiscal year, and the fiscal year just closed, I believe. So there's some cleanup that needs to happen. Okay, to reflect that. I just want to explain that because when you look at these, it doesn't appear that way. So when you look at the next month of July 31st, the 17,000 there, that 17,000 was supposed to be for the 22-23 fiscal year. So we'll clean that up. It's the same thing that goes for the August 31st too. And I also noticed the top right there, it still says fiscal year 22-23. We'll clean that up to mean 23-24.
Great.
So
Great.
I'll talk to the finance department and we'll clean that up.
Okay.
And then I think that is it.
Okay. The next item is the town picnic booth. This is a short topic.
Can you call on the public after each item?
You're supposed to have that.
Oh, sorry. Any public comments? Sorry, your hand didn't go down, so I didn't know that you had re-raised it. Apologies.
Hi,
have-
my hand has been up.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Rita.
Okay, thanks for taking my question. Comment for Howard. Howard, hopefully you're getting more time back for yourself, and thank you for your extra work. But now we got to focus on all of these public works. You know, all along not just Westridge, but all around town, we're having a problem with that weed that loves to share itself around town. And I'm trying to put together just people to help some of our elderly neighbors pull some of those weeds so it's not winding up on our properties or neighbors' properties. But then there are certain properties around town, all along Alpine Road and whatnot, that that are just have robust examples of this particular weed. Who do we talk to? You know, for the Stanford Wedge property, I don't feel comfortable contacting Stanford to say, hey, pull that. Is somebody in the town contacting them? You know, is that a PV Connect? Who do we do? And how can we get that pulled so that we, the residents that live near that, you know, it's not just becoming robust on our properties. So if you could answer that, I'd appreciate it. I know this is not a chance for you to answer maybe, but please, we're desperate here, and these things are going to flower, and they're only going to share with the wind and the rain.
Okay, would you like me to?
Yeah, do trick, yeah.
Did you want me to answer that?
I mean, just a quick response. Just give a pointer. I think
Yeah.
is
So this is-
reasonable.
Yeah, this is more of a conservation. I think it should be brought up at the conservation committee, and there's a couple of facets here. Number one, Rita, thank you very much for suggesting the organized volunteer efforts to pull the trachea, whether it's on private property or the right of way. A couple of, and then the second and third item is the trachea in the right of way and the trachea on private property. So, you know, obviously having the trachea is not illegal. So I think that if there is something on a particular property, then we can discuss with the conservation committee and discuss how we can approach those private property owners. That's one. The last item is basically the trachea in the right of way. And that's really based on resources. As, and that's something if we want to address, I can tell you in the past, you know, we mow and sometimes the weeding seasons are all different. When we mow everything, we'd like to have mow everything at once. We have to go back, but then we have to go back for particular weeds because the trickier comes up, and then next one, you know, star thistle comes up. We used to spray for those things. We stopped spraying. So it becomes a resource issue and a priority issue. And I think, you know, as the town has grown, we started adding things like fire mitigation and open space weeding and so on. And there's only so much to go around. So I think maybe if that is something that the community is concerned about, the trickier in the right of way, is to talk to the council liaison or present it to the council or somehow go through the conservation committee to say this is important and we need funds or resource for this, and to also identify where it is. I hope I provided it.
Yep, sounds great. Yeah. Any other public comments on the trail work budget memo? Christy, your hand is up on Zoom. Is it still up?
Yeah, I actually
Right.
have comments on the storm drains. So I'm wondering, because that was a couple comments back. We know we reduced the maintenance, public works budget by $100,000, and that does concern me because we need that $100,000 to do proper maintenance. So I'm all for getting that back for Howard to do what he's normally done. I am concerned about storm drains because the drain across from me got blocked up with cement and wood, and it caused an overflow in a pool and a pool house. And I don't want this to happen on trails all around town. And Howard did a good job of clearing that when he heard about it. But I would like to be proactive about replacing faulty storm drains. And how can we do scoping to get the worst storm drains replaced? So you did a great slideshow a while back. I'm sorry, it would be a YouTube or whatever you did, showing us that there's holes in old storm drains and how can we be proactive and not wait till they fail to take care of them, but be proactive replacing the ones that are bad right now so we don't get more trails and wiped out. So that's my first.
Christy, yeah, thank you. If you can email us specific trails that you know have been blocked by storm drains, I think that would probably be most helpful. And any other comments that are not related to trails, I think direct to Howard. Are there any other folks who have their hands raised on Zoom?
No.
Great. Okay, we will move on to the next item. Hopefully it will be short. The town picnic is this weekend. We decided that we would have a booth, and we need people to staff the booth. So Joe, Susan,
But I would last time.
Yep. Okay, just confirming.
Somebody else.
I think we'll generally have, we'll just be there to talk about trail stuff and hear feedback from folks about the trails. Yeah, maybe we can.
Can we have some paper maps?
Yeah.
I know that sounds pretty old fashioned, but you know, it's always nice to be able to illustrate like a picture is worth 1,000 words kind of thing,
Yeah.
instead of saying, go to your website. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can.
Me
print them out.
to email you the latest version with like draft on it.
I think we should use the
No?
town approved one until we can all discuss
Yeah.
the map that you made. Doesn't that sound like a good plan?
Yeah, I think the idea is just to have a visual that we can
Well,
use to talk to people about what and web.
back a little bit,
Just-
that map has been in our public agenda many times. So
I think the goal of having a visual there is not necessarily to see. If we want to seek feedback on the public map, we can. I don't know that we have staffing and.
Well, I'm bringing a pad of paper to take.
Okay,
notes, 'cause I know
okay,
that I'm
okay. Well, if someone would like to bring one of those maps
What
and the new one,
the old
it's been in the public agenda. Welcome.
I think we need to bring the old map.
And just use it as a way to orient people, to educate them about that we have trails I mean,
Right. So many mistakes on it. What is the purpose of bringing the old map? And,
the purpose of having a visual is just
oh,
to
I agree, we
introduce
need a
people
visual.
to, many people are going to come to the town picnic. They don't actually know that we have 38 miles of trails. And so it's simply highlighting that for them, not necessarily using it as the tool to develop the map. If folks would like to come and volunteer and bring paper maps, I'm all for bringing maps that have been published publicly. I think that maps that have been in our agenda, I think you can bring those. But I think given that it's a volunteer, the booth is a volunteer item. If you're going to bring items, be prepared to take notes on them. So
Have you,
I'm not really clear. We're gonna have this map, correct?
if you would like to bring that map, you're welcome to bring that map.
Since I would like to bring it, but I mean, I guess I'm a little confused. I think that in previous years, we've always had a trails map to illustrate to the people who come to our booth the trails that we have in Portola Valley. This map, we've never discussed it in a public meeting yet. So I think that
I
It's the
disagree
only
with
one we
that.
need to have.
We've discussed it many times in this committee.
no,
So-
but we've not.
Let Judith, you want to?
Yeah, just a suggestion. It's an opportunity to educate the public on what the Trails Committee does.
Yep.
So just have, if you go to our website, you will see this, which is the old map. And part of our work, we have been discussing, ongoing updates to this. And, for example, we're discussing this one over here. So it depends on what you want to be doing. Just here's the one that is on our website. Here's one that is in discussion and being going to be discussed. This, if you're interested, you could come to a meeting and comment on it. I would just label what it is. The town official map on the website is what I'll call the old one. Your ongoing work, which is an opportunity to talk about what you do and who's involved, and I would use that as an opportunity to say, and if you're interested in what this committee does, we've been working on this. It's not finalized, or it hasn't gone through our final process,
Yep.
right?
And
Just be accurate.
and bring what you're comfortable discussing, is
Yeah.
what I would say.
Yeah.
So it's a volunteer, I mean, just like everything on this
Yeah.
committee. If you're going to be staffing the booth, bring what you're comfortable discussing.
Well, I'm comfortable with both. I just didn't know
Yeah.
if we were breaking them.
No, we're not
No.
breaking-
Well,
No.
just be very accurate with what you're talking about when you talk with people.
Yeah.
This is a work in process. Our upcoming meetings will be discussing the adjustments.
So that might feed into some excitement.
Yeah, no, I mean, the people have to understand what you do and all the work you guys put in.
well,
So,
more of a woe factor would be if we brought a stuffed mountain lion or a coyote or something. That would
oh, that's always very
to your-
popular.
to your booth.
And,
Are you
or the
offering?
the horse, pictures from the horse event.
Your official Trails Committee shirt?
My buckskin jacket.
Okay. So we've got a couple folks. Anybody else able to come to the booth at all? Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. I will send out suggested schedule. I think it's from 10 to 4 that we go for, or 11 to 4. 11 to 4. Well, we don't have to be there the entire time. I'll send out that stuff, that timing. With that though, that will close out that item. No new business or other business. The next regularly scheduled meeting is October 18th. As noted earlier in the conversation, we may try to get a special meeting on the agenda ahead of that, but we will at least have our next regularly scheduled meeting on the 18th of October.
Sorry, I do have one thing.
Okay.
I signed up to scan the old maps that, the Trail Study Assessor maps. Howard helped me to scan them in the town's scanner. They are all on the shared, all the maps that are in this book are now on our shared Google Drive for the committee, and you can get to that through the internal website that I created and sent to all you guys many months ago. Because I know it's difficult to navigate a shared Google Drive. So that's why I created the website that you, and I'll send that link out again so that you can get to all this if you want to. Howard, I'm returning those to you. And then there were additional maps that are too fragile to go through an automatic scanner. So if the committee would like to get these scanned, it's going to require a volunteer doing it by hand to a scanner at something like Kinko's or something. And we can do that. That's up to the committee. So those were not scanned and they're so marked. And I'm returning them now officially to Howard.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I think we are, can I get a motion to adjourn? Ellie motions, Susan second. We are adjourned. At 10:02.
You have to set it up.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Let's come.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just.
And then I can pull them out. Have the note be part of the minute rather than, I think Gary's concern was a separate item.